So we're over here today in the spruce lot, red spruce. This lot was groomed in the past by the former owner to be a wood lot, particularly for spruce saw logs. Spruce is like one of our major timber and lumber species trees here. So what we're going to do today, this is the first day in for the season. We've got to come up with 5,700 board feet of timber and lumber for this season's projects. Today we're going to be looking at some trees that came down in the storms over the winter, see if we can salvage those. That's usually the first thing we do, is try to clean up storm falls, anything like that, trees that are still alive, or some trees that are on their way out. Spruce, when they start to lose their needles, you can tell they're going to die. Some of these trees are fully mature, and that's what's happening in this lot right at this point. And so there's a tree right over here, a dead spruce that we missed, or I guess it was probably dead before I took on the lot. Now it's a great habitat tree for woodpeckers or whatnot, but we try to catch those sometimes before they go, and that way we can still salvage them. So that's sort of our operation here, is we're cleaning this lot up. We're picking the worst trees and taking those out, trees that break off in storms or blow down in storms, or that are diseased, or that are at the end of their lifespan. So that's where we begin with our wood lot. So here we get another pretty good sized tree that's come down. This one came down in a storm earlier in the winter. I thought it was kind of nice that it didn't uproot this young red spruce that must have been growing right next to it, but somehow when it flipped up out of the ground, the roots didn't pull that with it. So that's kind of nice. We've got this young replacement tree to take the place of this really big one that's come down in the storm. So we'll take a little bit of a look at this. So it's like we got a 14-inch log here at the butt. This one's not so dangerous, as it's pretty much all down. We still might have a spring back from our root ball there, but I don't think this tree is going to go very far when we cut it up. It's gnarled up on a lot of previously fallen trees as well. I've also cut fallen trees back here alive, like this one of this size, only to find out that most of the inside is rotten. This tree's about as big as this tree would get. I'm guessing it's probably about 90 to 100 years old, and red spruce will live almost twice that long in ideal conditions, but and this one probably would have lived for quite a few more years. It's still got lots of canopy, lots of life in it, but that's mostly in the outer edge of the tree. The inside of this might be completely useless. So we'll make a cut up here. I'm thinking we can get quite a choice of materials out of this log at 14 inches. Okay, so I guess I'll clean some of this debris off first and take a few of these branches off, and then we'll cut into it and see what we get. All right, we're through, part way through here at our 12-foot mark. Before we cut the bottom, just to take some pressure off the top. So hopefully this log will just drop down here now. So looks like we got a pretty clean log here. Looks solid. Should make a good saw log. When these trees start to rot out, it starts at the base and travels up the tree. So we just roll this puppy out of the way here. Seems good. Maybe just a little bit of punky something going on here. But generally speaking, it looks like a good solid log. We'll get some nice timbers out of it. It's a pretty fast growing log. I guessed it was about 90 to 100 years old. I'd stick with that. But it had a good start. These first bunch of rings are really nice and large. And then you can see as time goes on, the rings get pretty tiny. It's growing slower and slower and slower. They say a softwood tree, or pretty much any tree in this hemisphere, does its most growth between 40 and 60 years old. So that would seem to stand true here. So that's the last log of our tree here. The top gets pretty small right after this. It steps right down to just a couple of inches. So, but that's great. We got 4 really decent logs out of this blowdown. I feel really good about that. I was really worried it was going to be rotten inside, and it's not. And it's a shame that it's not standing here taking up this piece of ground, but these things happen in nature, and we're going to make the best of it. So we got one of those today. We got one of those today. And one of those today. And I guess we got that 6x610. So one of those. All right. So yeah, don't be afraid to chop into blowdowns on your property, even if there's something that you haven't noticed right away. This tree's been down for a year and probably was over mature and not going to end up being very good to use in another few years. So when the storm took it down, we decided to see what we could find out of it, and it turned out to be in our favor. So now we have 4 really great timbers for one of our upcoming frames, and saved ourselves a lot of money at the lumberyard.